Imagine a world where the most powerful people have a giant secret. This secret is so big that it has been hidden in the dark for over 30 long years. Imagine a beautiful, shiny boat floating on the water at night. Everything seems calm, everything seems quiet, but then a light flashes and a loud alarm goes off. Suddenly, something is found that changes everything we thought we knew about the royal family. This is not just a story about a lost treasure. This is a story about a mother, a son, and a truth that refused to stay buried in the ground. Tonight, the silence is finally over. Get ready, because what was found on Queen Camilla's private yacht will leave you completely shocked. This is the night the secrets came out into the light. The royal family is feeling very sad right now. They are crying because they lost someone they love very much, but they are not the only ones who are sad. Many people in the United Kingdom and all over the world are feeling the same way because the Queen was their leader too. For a very long time, the British royal family has been very good at staying quiet. They know how to keep their mouths shut and not tell their secrets to anyone. They like to keep things private. But some secrets are too big to stay hidden forever. Some secrets want to be found. They do not want to stay under the cover of the dark night. One normal night, something very strange happened on a private boat owned by Queen Camilla. A discovery was made that was so big it felt like a giant wave hitting the palace. What started as a quiet and peaceful moment quickly turned into a big problem that nobody saw coming. People are now whispering about a truth that was locked away for more than 30 years. It is impossible to ignore it anymore. So what was actually found? Why is everyone so upset about it right now? This is the story of the night the silence finally broke. It was a very cold night in March of the year 2026. The sky over the big city of London was filled with very thick, dark clouds. These clouds were hanging very low as if they were heavy with a big secret they wanted to tell. The wind was blowing and moving all around the city. It felt very chilly because it was coming from the cold sea. The streets of the city were very quiet. The lights were not very bright. Everything felt very still. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath and waiting for something to happen. If you looked at it quickly, everything seemed normal. The quiet felt like it was supposed to be there. It felt peaceful. But under that peace, there was something hidden. Something that nobody could see yet was waiting to be found. It was like a surprise waiting behind a closed door. Many miles away from the busy city, far away from all the people and the cameras and the news, there was a special boat. This boat was a royal yacht called the Windsor Grace. It was floating very gently on the water near a place called Brighton. This was not a normal boat like the ones you see every day. It was very fancy, very pretty, and very strong. It was built with a lot of care. It was a special gift from King Charles III to his wife, Queen Camilla. The boat was supposed to be a safe place for her. It was a place where she could go to get away from all the hard work of being a royal. She could relax there and forget about the cameras and the deep pressure of her life. Out there on the water, it was the perfect place to hide. There were no crowds of people watching. There were no people asking hard questions. There was only the quiet sound of the water and the boat moving up and down. But that quiet was about to go away forever. At exactly 1:47 in the morning, something changed. Without any warning at all, a very loud and sharp sound broke the quiet. It was a red alert. This alert came from the royal security system. This was not a mistake. It was not just a little test to see if the machines were working. This system was very smart and used the best technology in the whole world. It had cameras, sensors, and tracking tools that watched everything. It was made to find even the smallest thing that was wrong. And now it had found something very wrong. The alert was very loud and very clear. You could not ignore it even if you tried. Someone or something had gone into a place where they were not supposed to be. They were right there at the yacht. In just a second, the peaceful night was gone. What felt calm just a minute ago now felt very scary and very urgent. Inside the rooms where the guards watched the screens, everything was moving very fast. Alarms were flashing red lights. The computer screens were bright. Everyone was looking at one spot on the digital map. That spot was the Windsor Grace. The people working there leaned forward to look closer. They wanted to understand what the computers were telling them. The information was very exact. It showed that this was not a mistake. It was not a bird or a wave. Something or someone had crossed a line that was never supposed to be crossed. This boat was supposed to be a place that nobody could touch, but now that was not true anymore. In just a few seconds, people started talking on the radios. Their voices were not calm anymore. They were very serious and very focused. They started following their special rules for emergencies. Every single second was very important now. Out on the dark water, the boat still looked the same. It was rocking slowly with the waves. If you looked at it from far away, you would think nothing was wrong. It looked very peaceful, but that was just on the outside. On the inside, something big was happening. Back at the security center, the bosses were very worried. They wondered how this could happen. The royal security is very hard to break. It has many layers of protection, like a giant castle with many walls. But somehow something got through all those walls. This made everyone very nervous. Then they thought of a very big question. Who did this? Was it a simple mistake? Was it a test that went wrong? Or was it something much more scary? More information started coming into the computers. The situation felt even more strange. The signal was not going away. It was staying right there. It was like something was watching and waiting. Time felt like it was moving very slowly, even though everyone was running around. Every choice they made was very important. One little mistake could change everything. The night did not feel peaceful anymore. There was a weird feeling in the air. It was a mix of a mystery and a little bit of fear. What started as a normal night had turned into a night they would never forget. The security system kept watching the intrusion. It was clear that this was just the start of a very big story. Nobody knew where it would end or what they would find. Very quickly, the quiet night was gone. Fast security boats started moving through the dark water. Their engines were quiet but very powerful. They were carrying special officers to the yacht. Every man on those boats knew this was a very big deal. This was not a normal checkup. The alarm was very smart and very real. Somewhere on that fancy boat, something had happened that needed them to act right away. They got to the yacht very fast. They put their boats all around it so nobody could leave. They shined bright lights on the yacht. The yacht looked perfect. Nothing looked broken. It was just rocking on the water. But the silence made the guards feel even more worried. They moved carefully and got onto the boat. They thought there would be a big mess. They thought things would be broken or people would be fighting. They thought they would see footprints or open doors. But they found something that was even more weird than a mess. They found nothing. No glass was broken on the floor. No doors were kicked in. No chairs were turned over. There were no messy footprints or things moved around. Everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. It was all very neat and tidy. It looked too perfect. The pillows were straight. The tables were shiny and clean. It was like time had stopped inside the boat. Everything looked normal, but the alarm had still gone off. This made the guards feel very confused. They did not understand why the machines said there was a problem when their eyes saw nothing. The leader of the group was a man named Colonel Robert Harland. He was a very brave man who had been a guard for a very long time. He had seen many scary things in his life. He did not get scared easily. He was very good at his job. He looked around the room very slowly. He looked at every corner. He said that there are no false alarms. He believed that if the computer said there was a problem, then there really was a problem. His team looked at each other. They knew he was right. They had to keep looking. Just because they didn't see anything yet didn't mean there was nothing there. Sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones you cannot see at first. They started walking deeper into the boat. They went from one room to another. They were very quiet. The living room was empty. The dining room was clean. The hallways were very still. They looked behind every door. They looked inside every closet. They looked under the beds and the chairs. They moved like robots, very careful and very steady. But they were starting to feel a bad feeling in their stomachs. The boat felt too quiet. It felt like someone had made it look perfect on purpose. It felt fake. Finally, they got to the big bedroom where the queen sleeps. The air in that room felt very heavy. It felt like the room was waiting for them. The door opened very slowly. At first, it looked just like the rest of the boat. It was very clean and very nice. The bed was made perfectly, but something felt different in this room. It was hard to say what it was, but they all felt it. The team started looking around the bedroom very closely. Then they saw something. There was a big shelf full of books against the wall. The books were lined up very neatly. To a normal person, it just looked like a pretty bookshelf. But these guards were trained to see things that others miss. Something about the books looked a little bit wrong. They were too perfect. One officer walked closer to the shelf. He looked behind the books. Tucked away where nobody would see it was a small black box. It was not a big box. It did not have any bright colors or shiny parts. It looked very plain, but it was put there very carefully. It was not dropped by accident. Someone had hidden it there on purpose. Every guard in the room became very still. They knew this box did not belong there. Colonel Harland walked up to the box. He stared at it. It felt like the whole boat was holding its breath. Everyone was waiting to see what was inside. Nobody said a word. The silence was very heavy. The guards realized that the alarm was right. Something had happened on this boat, and it was not an accident. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing had put that box there. They were very smart and very careful. This truth made the guards feel even more tense. They wondered what could be inside that little black box that was worth breaking into a royal yacht for. They were about to find out, and it would change everything. The guards used big bright lights to see better. The deck of the boat looked like a stage in a theater. The ocean was dark and went on forever. In the middle of the deck sat the small black box. It was tiny, but it felt very important. Everyone was looking at it. They brought it forward very slowly like it was a special treasure. Then they opened the lid. Inside, resting on soft purple fabric, was a lot of very beautiful jewelry. The jewelry was so pretty that it looked like it was glowing. When the lights hit the jewels, they sparkled in a way that felt special. They were very old and very famous, and the people in the room knew exactly who they belonged to. These treasures once belonged to Diana, the Princess of Wales. There was a beautiful pearl necklace that had a soft glow. There were diamond earrings that were very bright. There was also a blue sapphire bracelet that was very colorful and strong. These were not just pretty things to wear. They were pieces of history. They reminded everyone of Princess Diana. She was a woman that millions of people all over the world loved very much. She was kind, she was warm, and she was a very good person. Even though she's been gone for a long time, people still remember her. They still feel sad when they think about her. They love her just as much today as they did many years ago. Seeing her jewelry again was a very big deal. But there was a very big problem. These jewels were never supposed to be on this boat. In fact, they were supposed to be gone forever. They disappeared back in the year 1997. That was the same year that Princess Diana died. On the day of her funeral, when the whole world was crying and saying goodbye, these jewels vanished. Nobody knew where they went. That day was so sad and so busy that the security people could not watch everything. In all that sadness, the jewelry was stolen or lost. For almost 30 years, nobody saw them. They were not in a museum, they were not in a store, they were just gone, but now they were back. The jewels were found on the private yacht of Queen Camilla. This was very shocking. There was no note to explain why they were there. There was no story to tell people why they had been hidden for so long. There was only a very long silence. This was not just about lost jewelry anymore. It was about hard questions. How did they disappear 30 years ago? Who took them from the palace? Why did they stay hidden for so long? And the biggest question of all was, why were they on Camilla's boat? This discovery changed everything. It was like an old story from the past was coming back to life. History has a way of returning, even when people want to forget it. The air on the boat felt different now. What started as a simple search had turned into a giant mystery that was going to cause a lot of trouble. Earlier this year, a man named Ken Worf talked about a very intense memory. He used to be the personal bodyguard for Princess Diana. He went everywhere with her to keep her safe. He remembered a very sad and difficult night at a party. It seemed like a normal party at first, but it became very serious. There was a bad feeling in the room. This story helps us see what life was like for Diana behind the closed doors of the palace. It shows how much pressure she was under. It shows that she was always being watched and that her life was very hard. Diana went to the party and many people were surprised to see her. They didn't think she would come. People were whispering and looking at her, but Diana was very calm and acted like a princess. But on the inside, she was looking for the truth. She noticed that her husband, Prince Charles, was not in the room. She was worried. She asked Ken Worf to help her find him. She felt like something was wrong. They walked through the house together. They looked in different rooms. Finally, they found a quiet place in the house. There they found Charles talking to Camilla Parker Bowles. It was a very heavy moment. It felt like time stopped. Diana did not run away. She did not hide. She decided to be very brave. She walked right up to Camilla and started talking. She did not scream. She did not lose her temper. She was very quiet but very strong. She told Camilla that she knew what was going on. She told her that she would not be treated like she was stupid. She wanted everyone to know that she saw the truth. Ken Worf said this was one of the bravest things he ever saw Diana do. She was standing up for herself even though she was very hurt. She was showing that she was a strong woman, not just a princess in a book. Camilla was very calm when Diana talked to her. She did not say she was sorry. She did not say Diana was wrong. Her face looked like she thought this was always going to happen. She didn't say much, but her silence said a lot. This little talk showed that Diana and Charles's marriage was broken. It was not a secret anymore. All the sadness and the fighting were now out in the open. Later on, this moment was seen as the beginning of the end. It led to them living apart and then getting a divorce in 1996. This story shows how hard Diana's life was. She was loved by the world, but she had a very hard time at home. She was brave and she was sad at the same time. This is why people still care about her so much today. When Prince William got the phone call about the jewelry, his whole world felt like it was tilting. One minute he was fine and the next minute everything was different. He knew right away that this was a very big deal. He understood it better than anyone else. To other people, the jewelry was just expensive gold and shiny stones. But to William, they were much more than that. They were his mother's things. They were full of memories. They were a part of her life. He remembered her wearing them to special places. They were symbols of who she was as a person and as a mom. Seeing them appear on Camilla's boat was not just confusing. It was very painful for his heart. Later, William sat by himself to think. The room was very quiet. He started to realize the truth. He said to himself that these things did not just appear out of nowhere. Jewelry cannot walk. It cannot move by itself. Someone had to pick them up and put them there. This thought changed everything for him. This was not a lucky accident. It was something that someone did on purpose. They had a plan. They thought about it for a long time. They knew it was a risky thing to do, but they did it anyway. This made William feel very troubled. He also realized that not just anyone could have done this. You would need to be able to get very close to the Queen's boat. You would need to know the codes and the guards. This meant that the person was not a stranger. It was someone who knew how the royal family worked. They knew where to go and how to hide. They were very smart and very sneaky. As the investigation kept going, things got even more serious. They found out that the security cameras had been turned off. They were not broken. Someone had clicked a button to turn them off so nobody would see them. This was not luck. This was someone who was very good at being a criminal. They took their time and were very careful. They were a professional. The biggest question was, if it wasn't a stranger, then who was it? A big break in the story came from a very small thing. It was a secret camera that had been put on the boat months ago. Nobody knew it was there. At first, the guards didn't think it was important, but when they watched the video, they found the answer. In the dark night, they saw a man. He was moving very carefully. He did not want anyone to see him. He got onto the boat like he had done it many times before. He looked like he knew exactly where he was going. He was carrying a box. He handled it very gently, like it was a baby or something very expensive. He put the box in a hidden spot and then he left. He didn't leave any mess. Guards used the video to find out who the man was. His name was Marcus Hale. He had worked for the royal family for a long time. Everyone knew him. They brought him in to ask him questions. At first, he said he didn't do anything. He tried to act like he was innocent, but then the guards showed him the video. He couldn't lie anymore. He started to look scared. He finally told the truth. He said he was just following orders. The guards were shocked. They asked him who gave him the orders. He waited a long time before he spoke. Then he said the name Queen Camilla. This news was like a giant explosion. The story was now much bigger than just a few pieces of jewelry. It was a story about the past and the present. People started thinking about 1997 again when Princess Diana died. After she died, people were very mean to Camilla. They loved Diana so much that they didn't like Camilla. They compared the two women all the time. Diana was like a saint to them. Camilla was the person who took her place. It was a very hard time for her. She had to deal with people being angry at her for many years. Over time, people started to like Camilla a little bit more. She worked hard and she was kind. She slowly became a part of the family. But some people think that the past never really goes away. Maybe she still felt like she didn't belong. Maybe she still felt like she was in Diana's shadow. This background helps us understand why she might have done something so strange. The emotions from many years ago were still there under the surface. The mystery was getting deeper and deeper. The final part of the story happened in a quiet room with the doors closed. There were no news people there. There were no cameras. It was just a few people who needed to talk about the truth. King Charles I was there. Prince William was there too. They were not there as kings or princes. They were there as a family. They had to look at the facts. The guards showed them all the evidence. They showed them the jewelry and the video of Marcus Hale. They explained everything very clearly. There was no way to say it wasn't true. The facts were right there on the table. The room was very heavy and quiet. Some people tried to make excuses. They tried to say it wasn't that bad, but the facts didn't change. Finally, the room became totally silent. This was the kind of silence that happens when you know you can't lie anymore. In that quiet moment, Camilla finally spoke. Her voice was very low and she sounded very sad. She said she was afraid. She said she was scared that she would never truly belong in the family. It was a very honest thing to say. It showed that she was a human being who was scared and worried. She wanted to be accepted just like everyone else. But even though she was honest about her feelings, it did not change what she had done. You cannot fix the past with just a few words. For King Charles, this was a very hard day. He loved his wife, but he also had to be the king. He had to think about what was right for the country. For Prince William, it was even harder. This was about his mother. He wanted to make sure she was respected. He wanted to protect her memory. He loved his mother very much, and he would not let anyone treat her things like they didn't matter. He was being a loyal son. After they talked for a long time, they made a big decision. They didn't tell the world in a loud way. They did it quietly. Queen Camilla decided to step away from being a public figure. She would not go to parties or speeches anymore. The palace told the news a very careful story. They wanted everything to seem okay so people wouldn't get upset. On the outside, everything looked fine. But on the inside, everything had changed. The family was not the same as it was before. The secrets were out and things would never be the same again. The meeting in that private room changed the future of the royal family. Even if the public doesn't know everything, the people in that room will never forget what happened. This story is more than just a royal scandal. It is a lesson for all of us. It shows that the past always finds a way to come back. You can bury a secret deep in the ground, but one day the rain will wash the dirt away and the secret will be seen. It shows that being scared or wanting to be liked can make people do things that are not right. It also shows us that the truth is very powerful. The truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits. It is patient. And when the truth finally comes out, it makes everything clear. Even if the truth hurts, it is better than a lie. If you had to choose between a secret and the truth, what would you do? Would you try to keep things looking perfect so nobody gets upset? Or would you tell the truth even if it means people will be mad at you? These are very hard choices to make. But history remembers the people who are brave enough to tell the truth. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that matter the most. They are the ones that people will talk about for a long time. So what do you think about what was found on the boat? Do you think Camilla had a good reason for what she did? We want to know what you think. Please leave a comment and tell us your ideas. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you can see more stories like this one.